Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisholm, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Hey everybody, John Chisholm here. Welcome to the Song Revolution podcast. We have a very special event for you today. We have Don Moen on the show. I call that an event because the guy is just an event wherever he goes. He travels the world. He has traveled over 4 million miles with Delta alone. I've traveled over 1 million. He's got over 4 million. And I saw a picture recently when he was leaving France, and he was actually sitting in the cockpit of the plane. I'm not even sure that's legal, but one of the Delta pilots let him sit there and get a picture anyway. So we love Don Moen. Don was my boss at Integrity Music when I was there back in the early 90s, managing the songwriters, Paul Balash, Linda Shazo, Gary Sadler, a bunch of amazing people who really influenced the world and continue to influence the world with their songs, including Don Moen. Don is a dear friend. He's here in Nashville. As I said, continues to travel the world. He's written hundreds of songs and has literally influenced the nations in worship. He's got over 5 million followers on his Don Moen Facebook page, and he is a lover of people, a lover of God, and just a great guy. I love Don, his wife Laura, their kids who help manage his ministry now, and just so gracious of him to be on our NCS Song Power Week 2018 that we did back in January. It seems like a long time ago, but it was just a few weeks ago, actually. And if you're interested, you can go back to our Nashville Christian Songwriters Facebook page, and we have all 6 days of NCS Song Power Week 2018 archived there, at least for the time being, on the Facebook page. Just go over to the far left list of what's there, and you can actually scroll down to the videos, and quite a few videos there, but we had some amazing guests on NCS Song Power Week 2018, like John Thurlow, who's been at International House of Prayer in Kansas City for many years. He has a new record out. It was just absolutely amazing. Jennifer McGill, that I had a #1 song with called Unbreakable this past year. Former Disney Mouseketeer, who has a fantastic ministry. She's a great speaker, a great recording artist, one of the finest vocalists I've ever heard. She was an international star at age 10 or 11 or 12 on the all-new Mickey Mouse Club with Disney way back when she was a kid, and she's not that old now, but man, she is a powerhouse. Love Jen McGill. We had people like Cindy Morgan and Jenny Owens. We had the great worship songwriter, worship leader Jared Anderson. So, and many more. Some of our NCS songwriters like Trevor Graves and Terrence McCoy. I know I'm leaving some people out, and I apologize for that. We had Drakeford, a singing duo that we love and love to work with and support. Just amazing people. I'm leaving somebody out. I'm so sorry for whoever I left out. But go back and check on our Nashville Christian Songwriters Facebook page, and you can check out all of those videos. Great interviews, just great fun. I'm scrolling through my mind to see who I've left out. I know, Jordy Searcy, who was a contestant on The Voice Season 7, got knocked out at the battle rounds, but man, that dude should have gone on through. He is so fantastic. And whoever else I left out, sorry about that. But check out NCS Song Power Week 2018 on our Facebook page in the archives of the videos. Well, we have just come off of a fantastic event. That's why I said event about Don Moen a while ago. We had our second NCS Weekend Intensive just this past weekend here in Nashville. And we had 26 songwriters come from all over the world. We had some people from New Zealand, from Norway, and even from Canada. So we just had people from all over the states. We had a fantastic time, great clinicians. We had all of our NCS song coaches on hand, like David Baroni, Rob Corona, Rob Frazier from Artist in Christian Testimony, Gene Ezel. We had Robert Till from Texas, who's been in publishing and ministry for many, many years, and I'm leaving somebody out. Luke Gamble from Integrity and Brentwood Benson Music. We had some great clinicians like Tom Jackson, who has designed 3 Taylor Swift tours as a live music producer. He came over and worked with us for an hour. Chrissy Nordoff, who probably one of her biggest songs is Your Great Name, co-written with Michael Neal, and she has had songs recorded by people like Mandisa, Natalie Grant, Darlene Check, and a list of people, great artists as long as your arm. She's an Integrity music songwriter, and she did a fantastic job on Saturday morning for us. We had a barbecue dinner over at Centricity Music, courtesy of A&R director John Mays and all the wonderful people there at Centricity. And then we had an evening, an NCS songwriter showcase featuring Jenny Owens on Friday night at the Well Coffee House in the Brentwood area. So it was just an amazing weekend, and you can't even really describe or capture the power of a weekend like that. I had one of our registrants who came down from Kentucky. Her name is Peggy. Peggy sent me a really nice testimony. She said that her expectations were that she would go back unchanged and having spent a bunch of money. And she said just the actual opposite happened, that she is renewed in her whole songwriting calling. And Peggy, that's just the greatest testimony that we could possibly have, that our event helped spur in you. I just nearly knocked over my computer. That the event spurred in you a new sense of calling, a new sense of dedication to this thing that you feel that God has called you to do. That's what it's all about. We're on the verge of announcing our dates for July. So you guys go ahead and start saving up your pennies. Watch our website. We'll be announcing it here and on our site, NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com, as well as on Facebook, in our Facebook group called Successful Christian Songwriters. If you don't know about that group, it's a free group. You can just join it by asking. We also have our NCS membership. I think we have some ads on this podcast about that. That's an awesome, awesome growing community, a deeper dive into resources and all that kind of thing. But we'll be announcing the July NCS Weekend Songwriting Intensive, where you can actually rub shoulders with artists, with industry personnel, and you can actually finally get in front of the right people. One of the biggest hurdles that people seem to think they have is getting their songs heard by the right people. Well, let me tell you, in all humility, God has raised up NCS to be that link between you and the right people. I believe that we are the right people because we understand what record companies, publishers, what it really means to write at a highly commercial level. And so we help you tap into that and on all kinds of levels, from free all the way up to our premium boot camp. And so you guys were getting lots of great results, opening up co-writing relationships. All kinds of things are happening through that boot camp. So if you're interested, hit us up at info at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. Well, again, I'm so excited about having my dear friend Don Moen. He's a great cook. He's a man of the world, man. He's that guy. He has traveled internationally more than anybody I know and has influenced literally tens of millions of people with songs that he's recorded. God Make a Way, and on and on and on. He sang for the Pope recently with some amazing people like Andrea Bocelli. I think Darlene Check was there. This has been just a couple of years ago, and he was there to sing in front of millions and millions of people. So Don was gracious and came to the studio where we were doing NCS Song Power Week, and we had a great interview and just caught up on some great things together. And I love this man. Check out donmoen.com. I gave you some other information about his resources and about the ministry that he's involved with these days. So thank you for being here on the podcast today. I know you're going to sit back and enjoy my great friend, Don Moen. Well, I'm very excited to have my dear friend Don Moen with us today. Don and I have known each other since 1993 when I was asked to come and join Integrity Music down in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile's not the end of the earth, but you can see it from down there all the way down on the Gulf Coast. They've since moved to Nashville. But I would like for you to welcome internationally known, legendary singer, songwriter, worship leader. My buddy who sat here patiently through the whole first part, Don Moen.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great.
Good to have you, buddy.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. Yeah,
Thanks,
quite
man.
the setup you got here.
Yeah, well, we're broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the Franklin, Tennessee area. I'm not allowed to tell you where we are, but it's a pretty fantastic place. And I want to thank Jimmy and Jerry for being behind the scenes, also Benita and some other folks that are supporting us in this endeavor. Man, but
I've been sending texts to my office, to my staff, and said, pull this up and check this out. It's really,
it's kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I love interacting with the audience live because, that's like you and I were talking before the broadcast. This is what this is about.
Yeah, and I like the way you've got a heart for songwriters. NCS, this is what you did at Integrity when we worked together, but I was always so impressed with your just a pastoral heart for songwriters, just being a facilitator, a lot of times in the background. How many songs did you encourage people to write? Your name is nowhere on the song.
I know, right?
But it's just kind of pushing here, and I think you two ought to get together, and it's really exciting to see what you're doing with NCS. And just, it's when I hear you talk to the songwriters and I see what you're doing is you don't have to fake it. It's there in your heart.
Yeah.
Just to pastor these young writers.
Thanks,
so God
Don.
bless you, man.
Thanks, buddy. Well, you know what? I remember what it was like years ago when I was a kid, got saved, and the first thing I wanted to do was write a song for Jesus. Seriously, right?
Yeah.
And it was just bursting out of me, and never dreamed it would turn into a 35-year career, hundreds of songs, knowing people like you and affecting the nations. And so, and I know somewhat you came from a little town in Minnesota.
And so, the same thing. And it's like we worked in an era when there was actually a system for a songwriter to get a start. Nowadays, my heart goes out to a lot of the young songwriters. Like, how do you get started?
Yeah.
If like you and like me, we wanted to write a song, and there was actually a mechanism to try to get that song recorded and distributed. Nowadays, there are mechanisms to do that, but it's a lot different than the old formula that we were familiar with.
Yeah, I know. It's like you build your own platform these days, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But, I contend that if you don't have great songs to build a platform with, then you're just going to be part of this floating sea of mediocrity, right? Because anybody, a 12-year-old can put a song out on YouTube in the next half hour.
That's right.
And call it a song, right?
Yeah. I put songs out on YouTube.
In the last half hour.
Well, I haven't yet, but it's right. It all boils down to the song. It's like an author writing a book. If you don't have a story, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a great song, how many songs have we heard in our reviewing all these songs?
Oh my!
They send a demo in, and it's 5 key changes, and I say this to people, and I shouldn't say it on this thing, but I say you can't polish a turd. You did all.
We're on a 15-second delay, so you guys edit that out. He said the T word.
But it's like it's just like this. A song with all the key changes in the world, if you can't get up there with your guitar or sit at a piano and play it and connect, you need to start over. Yeah. So I just really appreciate what you're doing. I applaud.
Man, thank you.
Just the mentoring young songwriters and giving them a place to get started.
Well, it's such a privilege. And, we came back to Nashville 3 years ago, like, okay, God, why are you calling us back to Nashville, having been in local church ministry for a long time, traveling over 1 million miles? You've traveled how many millions of miles? But
a lot.
A lot. But the thing that God birthed in me was that there is, like John Thurlow, you might not could have heard him, but he was talking about fatherless generations. And like you were pointing out a moment ago, there's just not this clear mechanism and path for songwriters. And the Lord just birthed in my heart that the gift I still had to bring as I move into this season of my life is to mentor and coach and download not only to younger people, but to younger writers. You might be 65 years old and be a young writer. Right. And it's not too late. The dream is not dead as long as you have it alive. You have that dream in your heart, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Today's theme is loosely longevity in songwriting.
Okay.
And you and I have been at this for a long time.
So you brought the old guy. So, the legend, the old guy.
The legend. Yeah, he really died about 7 years ago. But no.
Hey, there was a rumor that I died in July.
No kidding.
Did you see that?
No.
Oh, yeah, it went all over the world. I died in an L.A. hospital, apparently.
Oh, my gosh. Alcoholism? Or?
No, it's just, I don't know, some stomach thing, but my office called me, this is about July 3rd or 4th.
You're kidding me.
And my boys called me and said, Dad, get ready for this, and it went like all over the world, and I got calls from everybody. And,
oh, my gosh. Did you find out who did it?
No, it said the Houston Chronicle. Some guy they were just trying to get hits on a site. Well, they did. They got a lot of hits.
Oh, my goodness.
But the good news is people said nice things about me.
Yeah. That they should have said when you were alive, right?
Anyway, but yeah, we've been around a while, but God has been so good, allowed us to be a part of a tremendous movement. Our years at Integrity were life-changing. Look at what we got to do.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So I'm so thankful for those days, and yet I know there's more. There's more for us to do, and I
believe that.
Happy to. We moved to Nashville. I said I'd never moved to Nashville, and then when the music industry kind of blew up in 2008, just kind of went all digital, and all the systems that were in place for so many years didn't seem to work anymore. I felt maybe Nashville's a safer place to live because people don't have all the answers anymore.
Yeah.
So we moved here. Yeah, we've been here almost 9 years now, and love Nashville, and just love to be able to do this. Here we are.
It's so fantastic. And talking about what we were able to do, a couple of years back, I was invited into a conversation in Grand Rapids up at Calvin College. I don't know if you know John Whitvleet and the people at the Calvin Institute for Worship, but we were there with all kinds of people, some pretty big names that were in the room. And it was a 3-day conversation about the future of praise and worship. And we put paper up on the wall, and we actually traced the history collectively all the way through back to early 1900s. And it was transformational for me to see the history. And right there in the middle were people like you and me with the whole integrity thing. Because I joined you guys in 94. You'd already been there.
6 years. 88 I went down.
Right.
86 I recorded Give Thanks. Wow. So, long time. But, you came in 94, was it?
Yeah, I started early 94.
Yeah.
And what a powerful thing for me, but I don't think I certainly wasn't smart enough to realize that I was joining something that really was transforming the world of worship.
Right.
And, you've been a huge part of that and continue to be as you travel internationally. And talk to us just a little bit about what you're currently doing. Because I know you're like in Africa every other week, it seems.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I had dinner last night with Paul Wilbur.
Oh, yeah, I love Paul.
And he's here working on a new project. But we talked about just the fact that, I travel a lot internationally. And the Integrity was committed to an international distribution system, which helped you as a worship leader, to help me and Ron Canoli and Paul Balash, and just Mike Coleman was committed to building a distribution system worldwide through Africa, through Asia, through South America and Latin America. And really, because of that commitment, the songs that got distributed really helped change nations, literally helped change nations. And we're still seeing the benefits from that this day. Yeah. So I'm traveling more than I ever have traveled. I'm trying to focus on building some other things. We have a YouTube channel now, Don Moen TV.
Wonderful.
So that's all teaching and training. It's all free stuff. But this is just more ways to reach people with I'm kind of like you. I want to mentor. I want to take whatever I've learned over these 40 years of doing this and pass it on.
Absolutely.
And more when I meet young musicians or worship leaders, they say, how can I do what you do? And how can I have longevity in my ministry? And come back to, a lot of it comes back right to being a servant, being willing to roll up chords, you don't just write a hit song and then suddenly you're a star and you're rich. It starts
really?
by
oh, geez.
Right,
I mean,
sorry.
I was really hoping.
But it starts by just the right attitude of serving. If you're in your church, start serving. Offer to roll up chords, to collect music, just to be there and serve, and that builds the character. So when you have a moment where God gives you a platform, you've actually developed some character. So you can stay there and build on that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think in our world of instant gratification, younger people tend to think, if I could just write the next big song and I can't tell you how many times, and you and I have heard this for years and years, if I could just get in front of the right people. Yeah. I'll get my break, it'll be launch time, and it just really doesn't happen like that.
It happens for some, didn't happen that way for me. I've never had an agent. I have my my manager now. He's my son-in-law. He came to work. But it's like, the answer is not to go get an agent right away or get a manager. Let the Holy Spirit open doors for you and be faithful and grow where you are planted, right in your church or right in your community. I've never been the type to write, 10 songs every day. It's amazing. Now that I'm not with Integrity Music, the thing that used to motivate me to write was seeing a calendar with my name on the calendar and a release schedule.
Exactly.
That brought fear to my heart, and that's what motivated me to, oh my gosh, in 3 weeks I'm supposed to have a rough cut of my project, so that would get me praying and get me
Hey, I was
writing.
praying for you too, man, because I was watching the whole schedule too.
Yeah, it's like, Don, you have an album coming up. And so those days, I don't have these days I don't have that kind of motivation, that scary calendar staring me in the face, but still we need to be disciplined enough to sit down on the piano and when you have a thought, write it down. You got an iPhone, just I'm always putting little ideas into an iPhone and recording something, and then when I have the time to write, I can I'll go back to that. But these days you don't have to have a 10-song project. You can do one song and get it out to your social media.
I know, right?
So while you don't have the mechanism that you had 20 years ago, you have a lot more opportunities if you want to access them. Exactly. To build an audience.
Exactly. I think it's the best of times and the worst of times in some ways, because back in the day when I was with the Gaithers for 7 years, VP of Publishing, and then down at Integrity, we were kind of the gatekeepers to the quality of songs. Correct. And there were very few of us, right? Yeah. That if you wanted a song to get out to the masses, you had to go through us. Right. And so we were kind of like quality control, and all that's gone. Yeah. There is no quality control, right? You
can write a song and put it up on YouTube and boom, there it goes. And
so what we're trying to do here at NCS is to bring some quality back. Yeah. That's really what we want. I mean, our mission statement is to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. Yeah. And we are having a worldwide reach with our Facebook group. It's called Successful Christian Songwriters. Yeah. It's free. We're like 4,700 people from all over the world, and it's fun, but it's so challenging sometimes to help these writers understand that anything you write isn't great, right? I could go over to the keyboard right now and just sing a few words and put a little dinky melody, but that doesn't mean it's really quality. So talk a little bit about quality writing, and maybe take us back to some of your early days when you were first writing some of the biggest songs in Christendom. Now, you're known for Give Thanks, and Henry Smith actually wrote that. So, Henry, if you're watching, thank you for that. I'm kind of known for Firm Foundation that Nancy Gordon and Jamie Harville wrote, but take us back a little bit.
Yeah. When in my early days, I never intended to be a writer. I was the musical director for a group called Living Sound, and we got tired of singing the same songs every night, so I just out of desperation started to write. And there was this evangelist, Terry Law, and he would I'd be sitting on the front row listening to his sermons, and I would just write down these thoughts, and it's like, at one time I said, it's the devil trying to get my mind off the sermon, but I kept writing down these thoughts. But now I realize those are starters. That's the way you start writing a song. Right. The Holy Spirit gives those thoughts, and if you've ever been in a time of ministry where you say, if only I had a song that said this. I think those are Holy Spirit starters. Those are seeds. You need to write those things down or sing them into your iPhone or something. And I started writing pretty simple songs, really. And I've been accused, you see all these little people that accuse people of writing too simple songs. That's me. But I only had like 5 or 10 minutes to lead worship when I was traveling with Terry Law. And I didn't have a time to spin out 3 or 4 verses and a long thing. I had, an audience of a couple thousand people, and I had 10 minutes. So my songs were simple. And that's what blessed be the name of the Lord. Give thanks was, what I sang. But I Exalt Thee, Pete Sanchez's song. I picked simple songs that people could quickly get a hold of. They didn't have to think too much about it. And I'm all for writing with depth and writing with doctrine. And I'm not suggesting we all write simple little ditties. But for my role at that time as a worship leader, I didn't have the luxury of taking an audience on a 30-minute worship journey.
Yeah.
I had like 5 or 10 minutes. That's it. And I wanted to quickly let them connect with the Lord. And then so simple songs were helpful. And that's a lot of my earlier songs are just that way.
Wow. So awesome. And you've progressed with the times, though. You're
tried to, yeah. I've tried, and co-writing, I did, Craig Dunnigan came to work at Integrity after you were there. And
right.
I remember Craig Dunnigan saying to me, you need to write with Mia Fields. And if you don't know Mia Fields, she was with Hillsong. And I just remember seeing her jump around on the stage. And I said, you're going to put me with Mia Fields? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
But he said, no, I think you guys would do great. And we actually sat down, and she's turned out to be one of my favorite co-writers because, she'll discipline me in writing and say, no, you're not going to use that word again. There are umpteen million words in the English language, and you don't have to use the same word in the same song twice.
Exactly.
That's Mia.
We're going to take just a quick break and talk about something that I think is going to be very valuable for you as a Christian songwriter. So check it out.
Do you feel like God's given you a bunch of songs, but you don't know what to do with them? Do you feel like you've got a real call on your life to write, but you're clueless about where to start? Or maybe you've got writer's block and you're wondering if you'll ever get the creative juices flowing again. Well, we've got you covered with NCS membership. NCS membership is all about community and how to grow in this calling you feel deep inside to be heard. We get it. We know that you just want to honor God with your talents and be a good steward of what He's given you. And that's why NCS membership could be your next right step to grow, learn, be challenged, get connected, and ultimately fulfill your dreams to glorify God and reach others with the same passion you feel. It's designed to help you tell your story and to reach listeners who will love your songs. With your NCS membership, you'll receive 2 free song critiques, 24/7 access to valuable masterclasses on topics such as modern hymn writing, worship writing, song form, lyric development, and recording home demos, as well as discounts for other NCS products, and a deep connection into a community of creatives who get you. There are a lot of songwriters out there, so you need to be the best you can be to stand out, be heard, and become the songwriter you were born to be. Just go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com now to check out all the great benefits of becoming part of a decidedly Christian community of songwriters from all over the world. NCS membership, your next right step to being heard.
Well, I just hope that you'll take advantage of that and check it out. All right? We bring you good stuff here on the Song Revolution podcast. So back to our episode.
I had a conversation with Tom Brooks the other day here. Tom was the first Hosanna music producer. And
53 albums, I think.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And he produced the first 8 of my albums. But I've had this thing in the back of my mind, like, I wonder if I want to try to go back to Tom Brooks just to kind of do a little throwback.
Sure.
And to see that chemistry of Tom and me working together again on an album. So we're toying with that. He loves brass. and big epic things, which to me translates into dollar signs, But I'm really intrigued by just going down that road a little bit. So we're looking at doing that. I just did a musical, God Will Make a Way. I did it last year before the election to bring the people together to pray for the nation. And
was that with Brentwood?
Pardon me?
Was that with Brentwood?
Yeah, Brentwood Benson
that's
did
what
that.
I thought.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's now I've done that in Nigeria. I've done it in Holland. In July, I'll be doing it in Singapore, and maybe in Malaysia and the Philippines as well. But nations all over the world realize we need to get together and pray for our nation again.
Absolutely.
So I'm working on that. That's a big choral project. It's not necessarily a Don Moen solo record, but I'm just doing whatever door the Lord opens up. I'm trying to walk through it and be faithful to do it with all my heart.
That's awesome, man. Longevity in songwriting, and to continue to express the presence of God in fresh new ways. So good on Mia Fields for holding you to task and not rehashing. I mean, we do talk about that a lot in our training, is to try to help writers realize, we've been hearing the same phrases for 40 years now.
Right.
There has to be some fresh ways to say these things.
I think a lot of the problem is pastors and churches have gotten comfortable with the liturgy of praise and worship. So when a worship service has to look and sound and feel a certain way,
right?
And because of that, certain songs seem to fit. But when I'm sitting in an audience in a church, I look out around at the people, and my heart breaks for people who they don't need another production.
Right.
They don't need more lights and sound and technology. They've been through hell all week.
Yeah.
And they need to connect with God.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering, as a songwriter, what can you say to give voice to that thing in their heart? What can we say to put it on their lips, the cry of their heart? Sit in an audience, sit in a congregation sometime and just kind of say, Lord, what would you want us to say to you today? Those kind of things are, I think, starters when you ask, where is it going? What can we write? There's got to be something fresh and new, and there is. Yeah. And part of it is you got to do this with your pastor, but you got to get to the place where the audience is willing to sit down. And you might want to just say, sit down and listen to this song, because this is not the song that you stand up and shout with. You need to just ponder this. Read the Psalms.
Right.
Read Psalm 109. Just read it. I mean, why does the wicked man prosper? I pray that his wife will be widowed, his children to beg in the streets. A creditor would come and seize all that he has. Let's all stand and sing that song. I mean, can you imagine?
Scripture memory.
Yeah, but that was a song.
Yeah.
But written by the psalmist. And it's like, how does that, I'm trying to imagine how that works in a church. But yet, there, I think we've kind of narrowed our praise and worship down to this little niche. And yet there's all this to sing about. And one thing I've realized over my years, worship does not equal music. And music does not equal worship. I mean, what we do as songwriters is a part of it, but it's not the ultimate.
Yeah.
It's just got to fit into the overall, we're coming together to meet with the Lord. What can we say in a song or a prayer or a testimony that will help people connect with the living God? That's what I want to do.
Wow. Well, you've done that for countless millions of people over all these years, man. And I just want to acknowledge you for that gift to the body of Christ and to the world. Do you feel like doing a song or two today? Do you feel
I could try.
It's kind of early yet.
I could try to sing something here.
All right, man.
What do you want me to sing? Anything? Or
just whatever comes to your heart. And we're going to be transitioning. Tech guys, are you cool? All right, so while you're kind of getting going over there, I just want to do a couple of little shout-outs. Let's see, Jeffrey, Andrea, Missy, Jennifer, good to see you. I never know, Teresa Louise Taylor Fields, is that 4 people or is that 1? I don't know. Anyway, good to have you on, Alan. Todd, good to see you. And so, Yvonne, thank you for being on today. So, Don Moen, just whatever you feel, man.
I could, we're talking to songwriters here. And there's a couple of songs that I've written that when I wrote them, I thought, well, I certainly can never record that song because people are going to listen to those lyrics and say, Don Moen has issues. He's got problems. And I think sometimes as writers, we shy away from the honesty in our songs, because we're trying to think, what's going to work in my church when the people are coming? What's going to work in that context of our liturgy of worship? So when I wrote, Lord, you seem so far away, 1,000,000 miles or more, it feels today. And though I haven't lost my faith, I must confess right now that it's hard for me to pray. But I don't know what to say, and I don't know where to start. But as you give the grace, with all that's in my heart, I will sing. And I will praise, even in my darkest hour, through the sorrow and the pain, I will sing, and I will praise, lift my hands to honor you, because your word is true, I will sing. Yeah. So that's, those are the kind of songs that, when I wrote that, I thought, well, I don't know why I wrote that song, because I'll never be able to sing it in a church. And yet it became the title of one of my most well-known project, I Will Sing. And it turns out that a lot of people could relate to the honesty and the vulnerability of that song. And when you're writing, I think you need to just go ahead and be vulnerable and in these things. When I stepped away from Integrity Music, it was hard. It was in my heart. I knew I had to step out and do something new. But yet, when I left, I first couple of weeks, I wrote a song. But still, I believe there is more. I believe there is more. I believe. So I open my hands to receive all that your love has in store. Lord, I believe. And I wrote that with Claire Cloninger, our friend. And I was full of faith, and I just knew God had more for me to do. And then all the paychecks stopped coming in. And then I started writing songs like, I find myself in uncharted territory. Never felt so lost, never felt so lonely. Where are you, Lord? I'm so afraid, I can feel the fear inside me. I can't control the chaos all around me. Where are you, Lord? How can I sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? Anyway, but how can I forget? Anyway,
yes,
but
awesome.
Those are some of the songs I've written on my journey. One that I wrote with Claire Cloninger for your first project. Lord, I offer my life to you, everything I've been through. Use it for your glory.
Oh, yeah.
And then, did we put the bridge in that first thing you did?
We did.
What can we, I can hardly remember the bridge.
That you have not given, and what do we have that is not already yours? All we possess are these lives we're living, and that's what we get. Minor. That's what key they give to you, Lord, depending on what key you're in.
Yeah.
I offer my life to you.
I haven't sung that bridge in the long time.
Oh, man, but it's so powerful.
I'll have to start doing that again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Yeah. fun times. Claire Cloninger, a great friend and a great writer, a friend of both of ours. And it's interesting when you co-write with people. Claire is she's poetic. She's flowery in her language. And the process we went through, since we're talking to songwriters, the process we went through is, I have this hook, this idea, Lord, I offer my life to you. And then she'll take it and do pretty much a lot of flowery language. And I go back and say, Claire, I can't say it like that. But I can say it like this, you know.
Right.
So that was kind of the process of a collaboration. And don't be afraid of collaborating with somebody. When you collaborate, I've heard you talk about this, you know, on your thing, but have an idea, go in. Don't just walk in there and say, hey, John, what do you have? I don't know. What do you have? I don't know. What do you have? That's a waste of time. Go in there and say, I've had this thought in my head, you know, like this is the thing that I've been thinking about. Somebody's praying for me, you know. Somebody's praying for me. Somebody's knocking on heaven's door. And then develop it, but just kind of say, here's the idea, here's the thought, and work on it together and trust the Lord.
Absolutely. You know? And you and I, we collaborated on a few things in our day. When
was it I See the Lord?
I See the Lord.
What key was that?
Whatever key. I don't. Ron Canoli did it. It was a big one.
I see the Lord. I see the Lord.
He's high and lifted up. He is high and lifted up. Is that right?
Yeah.
I haven't sung it.
On the faces of the earth,
Yeah.
I see the Lord. I see the Lord.
And I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Big hit for Ron Canoli, and I can't remember it. But,
Anyway, but there's a lot of songs. It's the most favorite thing I do to write. I love writing, and sometimes it's the most scary thing that I do, because you think, oh my gosh, is the well going to run dry when I start writing again? And I'm working on a new project, and I'm about to go into this same thing again. Like, oh gosh, when I reach down in the well, is there going to be something there? But you know what? God is faithful.
He is.
There are always thoughts there. And he certainly is not running out of creative ideas.
Absolutely
so don't be
not.
discouraged.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, Don. Thank you. Come on back over here, and you guys, what a treat. Give some love to Don. If you're paying attention and loving Don Moen today, why don't you just give us some love here in the comments box? And man, it's just so rich. You are a rich, deep well, and the best is yet to come, man.
I believe it.
And we're going to keep praying for you throughout this year for your new project. And the Lord's hand has always been on your life, and the not just the favor of God for sure, but you know what I've seen in you over these years is a man who's faithful, and you pursue God even in the worst of times. You keep pursuing and pursuing, and I think that spiritual tenacity is something that the rest of us need a lot more of. So. Yeah. I want to take just a moment to acknowledge you and thank you for the gift that you are to the body of Christ sincerely. And I know that everybody watching, you know, that is familiar with 40 years of ministry and just wow. So, you know, we just thank God for your life and for your ministry and for your songs and for being with us today.
Yeah. My pleasure. Great. And I'm honored to be here and honored to call you my friend.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah. I shook your hand too soon because I have one more question.
Yeah, great.
How do you want
Facebook Live.
I know it's Facebook Live. Okay, right? Yeah. I'll pat your back, shake your hand.
We can do anything we want.
So how do you like for people to interact with you? We've got donmoen.com. Yep. And tell us about the resources and anything that you want to promote here.
Yeah, donmoen.com. That would be... that's our website. For the YouTube stuff, you go to donmoen.tv, and or else go to YouTube and just punch in Don Moen TV. That's all kinds of free stuff, and we're posting. We got over 130,000 subscribers.
That's
there
awesome,
now.
Man.
But we're really trying to post teachings. We're trying to post little interviews, just anything that we can do to connect with our audience. Of course, Facebook, you got to go to the right Facebook channel. There's a lot of Don Moen imposters out there. Do you have John Chisholm imposters?
Kind of like Elvis imposters. I don't know. I mean, I think that
every week we have to delete about 50 of them. They put my picture up, and they have like 5 friends, and they send it. Would you be my friend? And it's like, and send me $100. That's not me. Don Moen, praise and worship leader, but it's the one with about 5.
No, you asked for $100 at least. I mean, if you're going to ask big, right?
But it's like 5.3 million people. That's the main Don Moen praise and worship leader page. So if you get a guy with 25 friends with my picture, it's not me. So so Instagram and Twitter, we're doing all that stuff. Sometimes I wonder, is it worth it? But yet connecting with your audience is important, and it's the way that we can connect. We have a prayer team as well that prays for us all the time.
And you're doing a lot of humanitarian stuff as well, right?
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
We have Worship in Action. It started as Don Moen and Friends, but we have a 501c3 called Worship in Action. And you heard me say it before, worship is more than the songs we sing. Worship does not equal music. Music does not equal worship. But worship really it's what we do as songwriters, bringing people together to worship. But there's a time when we need to take God's presence in very practical and tangible ways and reach out to someone with his presence by providing food, shelter, clothing, education. And we've been supporting an orphanage in Ghana for many years now. There we have an official charity called Don Moen and Friends, but we just dug a well for them. There's 200 kids at the Royal Seed Home. And that's some of the most fun thing that I do. If I could, I would devote all my time to Worship in Action. That's worshipinaction.org. But my office, my manager reminds me that in order to keep digging wells and keep building orphanages, it all boils down to you got to also have a little income over here.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
but it's a two-sided. We got the production side and we got the nonprofit ministry side. So, I wish I would have known this all 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
Think what we could be doing.
I know, man.
All this knowledge, but oh well.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Maybe our ceiling is going to be somebody else's floor.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe what we've been able to put in place and continue to put in place with your ministry, worshipinaction.org, right?
Yep.
And donmoen.com, and then what we're doing here at NCS. Maybe we can help set the platform for what I'm believing is going to be a new song revolution.
Amen.
Something that's outside the boundaries of what we've known as this tiny little pipeline called Christian music and a worldwide explosion of worship and praise again. Well, Don, I'm going to thank you again and do my wrap up. But man, thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Everybody, thank you guys for being here on our it's our very first time of doing NCS Song Power Week 2018, our very second day. So pumped about everything that God is doing in your life and empowering you. And I hope that you feel encouraged today and feel loved and prayed for and empowered, because that's what we're all about here at Nashville Christian Songwriters. Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.